I have to say, I'm reluctant to talk about the new Star Wars movies. I already explained what the original trilogy meant to me and to the art of filmmaking in general. I feel like I should stop right there and leave well enough alone. But I know a lot of you might be wondering what I think of the newer Star Wars and the changes done to the original trilogy, so I might as well. Like I said, the first 3 films that were made were all solid A+ pictures, 10 out of 10, 5 stars out of 5, whatever. They held a place in our hearts for so long. It was real exciting when the news came that there was going to be a theatrical re-release of all 3 films, plus 3 all-new prequels. The original trilogy hit theaters again in 1997. Wow, the joy of seeing these movies up on the big screen was something I thought I'd never have the chance to experience. During Return of the Jedi, I almost flashed back to my youth, seeing it 14 years ago. But of course, these were the special editions with new enhancements. This wasn't the first time changes were made to the films. In fact, every time they've ever been released, there's always been minor changes. For example, the opening title scroll of the first movie didn't originally say Episode 4. That was added in later. But in the new special editions, there were a lot of major changes. A lot of digital effects were added, which I thought were interesting to see at first, but I prefer the original unaltered films because the digital effects just look synthetic to me. They clash with the organic effects that characterize the rest of the films. It's so obvious when there's a new scene added in. It sticks out like a sore thumb. All these added scenes in Mos Eisley have no purpose. I know they're supposed to make the town seem busier, but I feel that they add nothing to the film. The only part I really liked was the Jabba scene because it was a missing part of the story, and to see it put back in felt more complete. And it was just nice to see old footage of Harrison Ford I never knew existed. It was like stepping into a time warp. The only thing I wished was that they could have somehow gotten Jabba to look more the way he did in Return of the Jedi. Because when there's really something in front of the camera, you believe it. But here, he's just a digital image that exists inside a computer. In the 2004 DVD version, they fixed up the texture a little more. He looks okay. Now, warning, controversial moment. Of all the changes made to the whole trilogy, the one that seemed to cause the most fuss was a moment that only lasted a fraction of a second. This, of course, is all about who shot first, Han or Greedo. Well, it's plain and simple. Not only does Han shoot first, he's the only one to shoot.
Yes, I bet you have.
It's like a classic Western. In fact, it comes directly from The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Just watch.
Now I find you in exactly the position that suits me. I had lots of time to learn how to shoot with my left.
And check out this scene from Fistful of Dollars. Yeah, the good guy has to shoot first, but in the special edition, Greedo does.
I bet you have.
I thought it was hilarious how Han's head digitally shifts to the side. Like, wow, it looks terrible. And it's also pretty impressive how casually he dodges a blast from such a close range. In the 2004 DVD version, it was changed again, this time making them shoot almost the same time, but still Greedo shoots first.
Yes, I bet you have.
Of course, Lucas's reasoning was that he didn't want Han to seem like a heartless killer and that he wouldn't be a good role model for kids or something. But I don't think it's about that. I think it's about being smart.
When you have to shoot, don't talk.
Couldn't have said it better. But I think the worst of the new scenes by far is the dance scene in Return of the Jedi. Seeing all the new digital creatures dancing and singing into the camera, I don't care for it. The 2004 DVD versions made some other changes just for the sake of consistency. But the most striking to me is at the end of Return of the Jedi with Anakin, Yoda, and Obi-Wan. Lucas felt the need to replace the actor who played Anakin, Sebastian Shaw. Now it's Hayden Christensen. I always felt it should have been the older Anakin. I know the logic is that he reverts to the way he was before he turned to the dark side, but didn't he turn back just before he died? And I also think it makes it even more inconsistent by having two actors play Anakin in the same film. But of course, I am aware that there were slight changes made to Anakin's face during the unmasking scene. The other thing I find real unsettling is the addition of Jar Jar Binks. Sure, he's far in the background, but you can even hear his voice. Think about this for a moment. Jar Jar Binks is now in Return of the Jedi.
Misa Jar Jar Binks.
That is unbelievable. George Lucas says films are never finished, they're abandoned, which only raises the question, how many times are these movies going to be changed? Well, I better start talking about the new movies or else I'll never get done. Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. I was really excited to see this. After waiting 16 years to see a new Star Wars movie, I thought this was going to be just as good as the originals. Why else would it have taken so long? I went to see the movie with a bunch of friends. The title screen came up, everybody applauded. It felt like time never passed. Like, wow, holy shit, we're watching a new Star Wars movie. Then the opening scroll came up, and it was about as exciting as reading a history book. I mean, come on. Taxation? Trade Federation? Those aren't the kind of words you want to hear. What followed was 2 hours of eye candy. Every single shot seemed to have some kind of digital effect. After my friends and I walked out of the movie, we were just like, it was good, I guess. I couldn't even remember the plot. I remembered the pod race, that was okay, and the lightsaber battle with Darth Maul was pretty cool. I really wanted to love this movie, but somehow it fell flat. I felt I got myself too hyped and had unreasonable expectations. So I went to see it again, this time by myself. I just sat back, accepted what I saw, and just tried to appreciate it for what it was. But again, I felt something was lacking. I just put it out of my mind and figured that it needed some time to grow on me. Well, it's been 10 years, and this movie still sucks the big one. It seems to me it puts special effects before story, and the effects themselves have no charm. It all looks like a cutscene from a video game. The effects in the classic trilogy were so awesome to look at. With those, you know that all the creatures were actual physical things that were made to perform in front of the camera. There's a lot of mystery. It still makes me wonder how they did a lot of that stuff. But with the new ones, you just know it was all done in a computer. I didn't care for the story, and I know it had to set the groundwork for the rest of the series, but I just didn't feel Episode 1 needed to start where it did. Sure, maybe it was cute seeing C-3PO meet R2-D2 for the first time, but for a prequel to one of the most awesome film series, it didn't tell me anything I cared to know. The characters were boring. Anakin just didn't do it for me.
This is tense!
Yeah, we all know he's going to be Darth Vader. Get on with it. Obi-Wan was alright. Qui-Gon was just there, didn't have anything interesting to say or do. Darth Maul was useless. Jar Jar was the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in my life. A lot of people feel the same, and I don't need to kick a dead horse, but there it is. Episode 1, I can do without. Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. This one was okay. Christopher Lee was in it. That alone makes it worthwhile. The love scenes between Anakin and Padme were cliché, and all the dramatic elements were pretty dull.
Here everything is soft and smooth.
But the action scenes were pretty good. The highlight was seeing Yoda kick some ass. Other than that, I really don't have much to say about this one. It was entertaining, but nothing special. So, there you go. Shortest review ever. Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. This one was pretty damn good. I was surprised. It redeemed the whole prequel trilogy. It was as if Lucas had 2 strikes and then a home run. Sure, there's some things to nitpick, like some of the dialogue.
You're so beautiful.
It's only because I'm so in love.
No, no, it's because I'm so in love with you.
But this one's got it where it counts. There's a lot of action, but this time it complements the story. The battle between Obi-Wan and General Grievous, the duel between Yoda and the Emperor, and the final lightsaber battle with Obi-Wan and Darth Vader were all riveting. Each scene felt important, rather than just flashy effects for the mere spectacle of it. This time, I just cared more what was going on. I was hoping for more scenes with Darth Vader in the costume. After all, he's one of the best villains in the history of film. It was great just to see him at all, and voiced again by James Earl Jones. Unfortunately, they didn't give him many lines. We waited like 20 years just to hear him say that. But Ian McDiarmid is the one who steals the show. He's so creepy you can't take your eyes off him. What makes a good villain is something I can't answer, but I know it when I see it. As a prequel, it was more satisfying than I could have possibly expected. I love how dark it gets at the end and how it segues into episode 4, which now we can fully grasp why it's called A New Hope. It was great to have that Star Wars feeling one more time, and for it to tie so nicely with the original trilogy. Children growing up today now have 6 Star Wars films to watch, which makes me wonder what the younger generations are going to think. Episode 1 will no longer have the hype it once had, which means new audiences will have a fresh new look and may even like it. Speaking of which, does that mean they'll watch episode 1 first? If you're a mom or a dad, have you thought about how you want to expose these movies to your kids? Will you show them in chronological order, or the order they were made? Will you show them the special editions first, or the original unaltered trilogy? Will you let them see it their own way, or the way you first saw them? For audiences in 1980 seeing The Empire Strikes Back for the first time, it was a complete shock to find out Darth Vader was Luke's father.
He told me you killed him.
No. I am your father.
That was one of the greatest movie twists of all time, but today's audiences have a completely different perspective. If you saw episodes 4 through 6 first, it makes Vader out to be a badass villain, and in the end, it was more powerful to me to see him turn good. But now, seeing how the first 3 episodes focus on Anakin, it makes him out to be more tragic. Either way, future generations are going to have completely different point of views, and that's the same way that Star Wars took classic stories that have been retold through the ages. It started before any of us can remember, and it'll go on till the end of time. May the Force be with you, always.